this is Charlie at My Messy Fingers. We are going to work on the first signature for our album, which we're making, which this was the outside of it. And it does feature Ciao Bella's Elegance of Blue collection. So I am doing a little bit of combination between rounded corners and a scalloped die. So if you choose not to use either, that's up to you. You can just make straight cuts and or just do rounded corners all the way through. I used a die, and if you've got a punch you would rather use, that's entirely up to you. So very flexible. So just keep in mind that when you make my albums, you can make any changes you want because it is going to become your album. So what I set forth here is not set in stone. So we're going to get down in here to the middle to the base page. Now, as I go along, I will give the critical measurements for this project, but I am not going to give you every single measurement for the individual papers. Those will all be cut to fit. It can get quite daunting to give every measurement that there is in a project. So anyway, the width for this signature is going to be 8 1/4 inches across, and we're going to be 8 5/8 inches in the height. Now this first page, the reverse side of it has some emblems. And this is a piece of it, but it came up off the top of this. I wanted this scroll as my feature. So save the back side of this, because I do believe it goes like this. Save the back side of it because we're going to be using this piece for our pocket. So the pocket measurement, as best as I can get it, because when you cut this scroll out, it changes what the actual measurement is. So the finished measurement was 3 1/2 inches. So I would surmise that it would be, the cutting would be closer to 3 5/8. It just depends upon how much room you leave here for your tip. I took my tip right to the edge of the paper, so I was at 3 1/2 inches. And then it will be by the height of our project, so that's going to be at 8 5/8. Then this piece, like I said, I just simply cut to fit. I cut for me to match these up. I cut the same height and the width, then I cut this piece, and then I simply trimmed off the top and the back side until I got the fit that I wanted on this, and that will get glued in here. Then there is a full page of beautiful poinsettia cutouts, and I fussy cut this one out. I've popped it up, and it's just going to, I have, by the way, I have inked everything in a vintage sepia. It's a light brown. It helps to complement the brown in the pine cones. So I inked all these edges, so that'll allow it to pop out against these, popped them up, and that's just going to go right down here in this corner. So there's a little bit of depth. I am going to start with getting this taped together. Now, I watched a video the other day, and I'll be honest, I about pulled my hair out. And I just really hope that I do not create a lot of gray hair and hair pulling. So I will do my best to articulate what I'm doing so that you're more comfortable as an audience of putting things together. When you're doing videos for an audience, And I don't care who you are. You can be seasoned, you can be brand new at it. To try and remember everything and satisfy the needs of everyone, it can get sometimes, from our perspective, a little overwhelming. So if you've got any questions or concerns, it's best that you reach out directly so that I can answer you as quickly as possible. My email is available on my channel, and you can always leave a comment down below, and YouTube notifies me, and I am just, unless it's midnight, I try to be extremely prompt in my replies. Certain activities might prevent me from getting to you on the same day, but I do try very hard to be mindful of that. Okay, so it's just a matter of positioning. How do I want this to position? There we go. All right, so we've got our base page. We have our pocket. And again, if you don't want to use a die or a punch, that's fine. If you want to just do a straight edge, perfectly acceptable. All right, so our right side, I just realized I have to open up a package of magnets because we're going to have to place some here in 2 shakes. So excuse me while I tear into this and pop out a set. Okay, so on the right side, again, as best as I can, because I'm using a scalloped edge, I will give you these measurements. I should not be off more than a 1/16 of an inch. But just keep that in mind when you're cutting your papers, that you can use this measurement that I'm going to provide to you here, which is 6 1/4 inches, and just cut a straight edge, round your corners, or go to the 6 1/2, make sure that the tip of your die is at the edge of the paper, and then line everything up evenly. If you're used to using dies and punches, you know how to do that. And then again, it is the 8 5/8. Now you're going to score it at 1/2, and you're going to score it at 5/8. Just ignore all of my, I'm going to hide it right now with some tape. This was from a previous cut, and I really messed up my lines. So I'm reusing the paper so that I'm not wasting it. There we go. Okay, so you've got this measurement and you have your score marks. Let me just do that again here real quick. So it's 6 1/4 by 8 5/8. You're going to score it at 1/2, and then you're going to score it at 5/8. We're going to come in here, and we're going to wrap this. I'm going to bring it right up to that 1/2 inch score line. I'm going to give it a good tap, make sure I'm up next to the seam. Then I'm going to push back and tell this score line, remember, you have a job. All right, we're going to cover in a minute. I want to come over here to this panel. All right, so this one is going to measure in at 5 inches by your 8 5/8. You're going to have a 1/2 inch score and a 5/8 of an inch score. Same thing, I'm going to come right up to my score line. I probably should pull my sweatshirt off. It's got ink stains on it from a while back where I had an accident with ink. And it probably doesn't look all that pretty, so I'll get this set and I'll take my sweater off. It's just a little bit chilly in my craft room. Same thing, we're going to push it back. And we're going to remind this score line that it has a job to do. Okay, so then we're going to place the magnet and we're going to place it on the left-hand side so that hopefully we're lining up on the right-hand side correctly. So bear with me just a second. Okay, so we're going to place this about here, and hopefully it will set here and not too close to the edge. It's hard to guide, for that to guide to turn out sometimes for me. So I want to place it back just far enough that the magnet and the scalloped edge don't fight each other. For room, I want to go to place down the second layer. Make sure that everything is lined up top and bottom and that the gussets are standing up straight. Oh, beautiful, that laid perfect. Okay, so now let's stay to the inside. All right, so this piece that we cut right here has this image and this image. So when you cut for this side, you're going to save this image. It's going to go on the outside here. And then I trimmed this. You can see there's some cards here. This was a separate piece that I trimmed accordingly to fit over here. I wanted some gray to kind of complement this gray, and then poinsettias to complement down here. And then this, I cut out this card, backed it, and it's just going to come, when it's all put together, it's going to come down here in this lower pocket so you can tuck. Let's go back to the front. This piece here is one of the, let's see if I can find it here real quick. It's this piece. So it's out of the paper pad, the 12 by 12 paper pad, and it is this piece here that I've cut. And this piece is the reverse of this. So this was on the back side. So this entire top piece is being used on the inside of this. So that's going to go right there. This is going to fit right here. And then I did a scalloped edge on this one. So that's how that's all going to come together. So we'll go ahead and start getting things put in place. I always like to work on the inside first. I'm going to glue this one because I have no magnet here. I like to balance out my use of glue and tape, and it can be quicker to put down my glue. And I used a 1/2 inch corner round. Now, your cut to fit is going to be based on your eyeball. How much of an edge do you want to see? And you have to be mindful of this score line right here. You want to stay off of it. So I try to balance where the bump is here in the score with what I'm seeing here, and that's what I cut to fit. Now, what did this end up cutting out at for me? It ended up cutting out at roughly 8 3/8 by almost 4 1/4. Did this, let me look at this again this way. Yeah, about 8, a little hair over 8 3/8. But not quite 8 1/2. That's why I'm saying cut to fit, because you're going to kind of eyeball your own paper there. Now this side I'm going to have to tape because of the magnet, and if you have followed me for very long, you know that I have had situations where I've had to get in and either add a magnet or adjust a magnet. Now it's going to be a little bit troublesome because of this scalloped, so it will take me just a little bit longer to weave through there, and what I'm going to use to do that, because it's simpler, is my 1/8 of an inch tape. It doesn't give me as much trouble when I'm trying to weave. I don't want to glue it because that would defeat the purpose of the tape going down. The back is starting to come off as I twist this. Now, if you're a gluer and you feel confident, go for it. I'm not. Just because I've had too many incidences where I've had to get into them. Then I want to run a little bit of tape up the center. Oops. And then I want to run just a little hair of tape over my magnet so that I can ensure myself that it's never going to slip and slide in there. I taped the wrong side. Wow. Charlie, Charlie, Charlie. What in the heck? Okay, we're going to have to perform a little bit of surgery because I'm not wasting this cut. I am not going to recut paper. I cannot believe I did that. Come on. Oh. God bless America. I'm going to have to glue that piece down. I can't believe I did that. I honestly can't. What a dingbat. Okay, we're just going to lift this. For Pete's sake. You know that, have you ever seen those cartoons or those memes where you have a palm being smacked against your forehead. Like, what was I thinking, for Pete's sake? I wish I could save all this tape. Okay, I don't want to risk tearing this. I already tore it right here. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, I'm tearing it again. I should take stock and undo. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of glue, gently fold that over, gently give it a little burnish. Let's try this again. How about we do it on this side? That just took up a bunch of unnecessary video time. Okay, here we go again. Some of these tighter little swirls here make this a little difficult. There we go. Now I can see I've got a little bit of tape overhang, and that's fine because I'm just going to use my finger and tuck it up. So now let's see if we can get this put on now that we've got the tape on the correct side. So I'm just going to fold that back in there. Fold that in. I should use my picker. I'm going to keep my fingernails clean. Okay, so I'm going to line up my design, and then it'll lay. I've got a bigger gap here than I want, but it's okay. I will deal with it. And now our card. Which is just going to come, I'm going to bring it all the way, this one all the way to the bottom. Now we've got a nice tuck. So we've got this done, so our insides are done. So now we're going to work on the outside, and this one will have some tape on it. Going to be a little bit easier to tape this one because I've just scalloped the edges, or rounded the edges. Where's my picker? Match it up here, and hopefully it will line up here on the edge just right. Okay, now this front, which will be easier to add because that's glue time. Up my center. Extra glue there. All right, so there we have it. And I think, let me see if I can find one fairly quickly. I'm thinking about adding a small poinsettia here in the corner just to give it, because when this closes, this shows. I could put a couple here. So you know what? I'm going to not do that on the video because it takes a little bit of time to do that. But I'm going to cut this one out to put here and pop up. And I'll locate another one where I could pop this up right here. But for all purposes, we are done with this signature. So we can go ahead, flip her over, and let's get some tape on to the back side for mounting in our book. All that little frilly stuff can be done after the video is finished. You don't need to watch me do that. Down the center for support. And then this is going to slide in here like so. Now, I don't know if I told you in the last video, the early cuttings, I had these silver pieces. So I covered my gusset with a 5/8 of an inch cut, and then I cut just past each of the seams with 3/8 tape so that I would know where my boundaries are, as if you will, for how close I want to get to these seams. I have a tendency to build up, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if I was to lay this right here, smack dab on that seam, one, I've got way too much over here. I don't like that. And then when you turn this edge, this gusset right here is now folding down into this, and it will create this bubble. You don't want that, or I don't want that. So when I build my albums, I give myself room for error. I try to bring everything up to the edge on my right side, leaving the room here, so then when the signature turns over, this is turning over into this space, not this space, if that makes sense. Okay? Of course, you probably already knew that. Or you don't have that issue because you're using a different design, which is totally acceptable. You just have to be aware that you're making your own adjustments to your measurements. Now I want to make sure that my gusset's staying flat when I commit the tape. this out. And no, if this is your first video with me, I do not pull all my tape. I do not want to run into an issue where I've laid it incorrectly and then I've got to perform surgery on the whole thing. Make sure that's burnished really good. Ta-da. Okay. We are done with this signature and we will come back for the next one. So until then, bye-bye.